All right. Well, I guess we learned two things. One, I shouldn't trust you guys.
Whoa!
But two, the other thing. All right, we didn't learn that. All right, we didn't learn that. Welcome back to another episode of 1980s Now, a weekly examination of the importance of 1980s pop culture and its influence today. Hey, my name is Will, and joining me as always are my friends and co-hosts, Kat and John. Hey, guys.
Hey, guys.
Hello again.
See, now the folks hearing this on the audio podcast and not with us live heard me speed through the intro, just like I'm some kind of amateur. But the reality is, like an amateur, I sped through it because I already did it once and we had it recorded a second time. So either way, you're right.
As John would say, they're seeing how the sausages are made, right?
See how the sausage is made. That's right. Behind the curtain.
Which, I mean, the thing about that metaphor is right, it really the beginning of it, I think the full saying is you don't want to see how the sausage is made because it's a horrifying process. That will turn you off of sausage.
That's right.
Well, we don't want to extend the metaphor to us, though, right?
It's all lips and snouts. You don't want any of that in your, Yeah.
See, the thing is, John keeps sharing these adages, but not the whole thing, like the lips and snouts one. There's a whole more thing to that.
I'm transposing and transmogrifying them into my own saying.
Very good, yeah.
Make them mine.
Hey, but
I'm avoiding copyright infringement.
Hey, we are recording this, and the reason why the reason we're doing it over again, we did it over again for an audio problem, but I was saying in the first version of this recording that I'm excited to be able to say we're recording this episode live before a Facebook and YouTube audience. I wish I could just say, live before an audience, because when we were kids and we would hear that at the top of a show, like Laverne and Shirley or All in the Family, something like that, and you'd hear like some applause a little bit. I always got so thrilled because it was like seeing theater.
Okay. So it wasn't like you were excited to see if they might mess up. It was that you could feel the live vibe because you knew they were in front of someone, even though you couldn't see them. Yes.
It was more the latter. Because especially when I was younger, I hadn't seen a live performance of anything probably, but certainly not anything theatrical or theater until I was, probably at least double digits in age. And so the theater I saw was, they'd have Masterpiece Theater, I think it was, where they would show like a recording of a Broadway show or some show, on PBS. And I loved those things where you could see there was an audience. I did feel like I was part of the audience. So that kind of excitement extended to the sitcoms that we liked from that era as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, I guess to John's point, though, you can be watching this live with us on Facebook and YouTube and see us mess up. Because that happens.
It's rare, but I mean, stick around.
But for the folks listening at home now, after it's been recorded, we cut a lot of that stuff out. Although we leave a lot in too. Probably too much for John's taste.
Which is pretty telling if we cut most of that out and this is what you hear.
So look, not only are we recording live in front of our Facebook and YouTube audience, but this episode is brought to you, whether you're hearing it in post or hearing it live, this episode is brought to you courtesy of the fine folks over at Sweets and Geeks. I'm so excited about Sweets and Geeks. I can visit them because they're not too far from where I live. It's a fantastic place. I'll tell you a little bit more about it later. But you can actually shop Sweets and Geeks online at sweetsandgeeks.com for your next memorabilia or game. I get my games there, my board games. But they've got a lot of stuff and candy, international candies. Anyway, I'll tell you more about it later, I said.
Okay.
But
all right.
What's great about these folks is in addition to just sponsoring this episode, they've given us a $25 gift card to shop at their store. Again, you can shop online. That we're going to be giving away to someone in our live audience later. If you want to participate in the chat or in the games, for your chance to win, join us on Facebook or YouTube on some Wednesday until at 7 p.m. Eastern or until we get tired of doing it. Probably next week. Actually, next week, Kat's doing One Hit Wonder Challenge. So that's going to be fun for, I think, the live folks to be able to guess whether or not a song Kat plays for us was a one-hit wonder, was from a band that's a one-hit wonder.
That's right.
Those are hard.
Yep.
I think John and I biffed that one last time, right? It was terrible, I think.
I don't remember. I think it was half and half. We didn't do too badly.
Well, it was like I would recognize the song, be able to sing the words, and not be able to think of the title. It was like horrible.
Yeah, right. Well, and then you came down to like, is it a one-hit wonder or not? And you're like, I'm pretty sure. Oh no, and it was this.
No.
Or what? Anyway, yeah. There's the criteria. I was constantly second guessing myself. Is what I always. That was my downfall.
All I remember.
That's what I'm trying to get you to do.
And Kat would give us the craziest clues.
I love giving the clues.
Remember those clues?
I love giving.
The best clue is the only one I remember though, which was related to Star Trek. John lit up.
Oh.
Can you have all Star Trek related clues?
Sure. That was my goal. Oh, I have to remember to do that. All Star Trek related clues.
Got to reach out to somebody who could do that.
I'm gonna have to phone a friend.
That was the T'Pau single, Heart and Soul, right?
Yes,
Nice. Yeah.
So that's next week. But
I remember those.
That's the only one I remember. Hey, but on today's show, I'm going to be sharing with you the true crime. It's not really a crime per se against, in a legal sense, except it's a crime against humanity in the very least. Let's say that. In the very least.
Someone was, what's the word I'm looking for? Egreged? That's not a word. Someone
aggrieved.
Is that a thing? Okay.
Aggrieved.
I don't know what it means, but it sounds good.
Aggrieved.
Aggrieved. Yeah, that's what they were.
Aggrieved,
yeah. People were definitely miffed. How about that?
Yeah. You go to jail for miffing somebody.
Ooh. Depends on where you miff them.
Point on the doll where you were miffed.
Where those bad man miffed you.
I'm telling you, he miffed me. He completely miffed me. Does this kid just have a lisp? We got to let those people go.
No.
Before we talk about, and it's a true crime perpetrated by the infamous video gamer and Todd Rogers. So if you've heard of him, you might be familiar with his legend.
Dum dum.
If you only heard the earlier part of his history, then you think he's a fantastic guy with amazing records, video game records. Before that, though, we're going to review current news stories related to 1980s media, including Richard. Or here you go. This is the worst one of the bunch, and then the two are just whatever. Richard Marx the Spot with a rant.
Oh,
that's
good. Okay.
A 1989 song finally hits number one, and there is a let's see. Oh, and an alleged cheater eludes justice. That's my editorial there. And there's time codes and notes if you'd like to skip around. Hey, a quick announcement real quick. I know we're talking about a lot of stuff before we actually get to the show, but this is the show. This is the show.
This is it. This is what it is.
Yeah.
Enjoy.
Last week, I failed to mention that during our break, I recorded a discussion, an interview, I suppose, with Ashley and Aspen Summers, twin sisters who host a podcast called It's a Twin Thing. And that's been live for a few weeks now. You should check that out if you want to hear more of me.
All right.
I have not listened to it because I hear plenty of me every week.
I listened to it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you did?
It was fun. Yeah.
Okay.
And?
It was cute.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it.
Did they say everything twice because they're twins?
No, but they said it in sync, and it had that Shining kind of vibe.
That's creepy. That's creepy.
Yeah, it was. It was freaky.
Oh.
It was hard to tell them apart.
Yeah.
Vocally, too. Yeah.
It didn't help to have them on video.
Yes.
And then listen later this week for my chat with author Amy Daughters about her book, You Cannot Mess This Up. It's a really interesting book.
Ooh.
Fun and light.
Yeah, that book looks very interesting. I look forward to that.
Yeah. All right. Hey, let's get started on 1980s news. Hey, this week in 1980s news, as reported by Ultimate Classic Rock, Richard Marx scolds a concert goer. Now, you may recall, right, earlier this year, while touring this summer, John Mellencamp exchanged some, I was going to say pleasantries, but that's a lie, profanities with some unruly audience members. And he threatened even to leave the concert, his own concert, if people didn't start cooperating and behaving themselves. Right. Well, this time singer Richard Marx has some harsh words for a concert goer who was talking during one of his recent performances. The incident took place January 21st during a show in Port Chester, New York. Marx, who is out on a he just wrapped it up in January, at the end of January. He was co-headlining an acoustic tour with Rick Springfield, another singer from that era. And actually, he was a singer turned actor turned singer, Rick Springfield. He was Marx was performing in 1982 in Angelia. I don't know this. Is that how you say it? I don't know that song.
I'm not familiar with that.
I know the hits.
I don't either.
So maybe this is why.
I bet if I heard 5 seconds of it, I'd know it, but I don't recognize it by name.
Right.
Angelia. It was like 1 second of.
That's the one. My favorite.
Well, maybe that's why this person was unruly. It was one of those play the hits kind of things.
Free bird.
Anyway, while he's doing this song, a woman in the audience starts talking loudly. Other people in the crowd around her started to hush her to be quiet, but the noisy fan didn't seem to care. So after finishing the song, Marx pointed his finger directly at the offending concertgoer. J'accuse. And I've got a clip here that I should share you with what he had to say.
I'm genuinely curious who raised you to think that anything you could yell out was more important than what we were doing. Learn some fucking manners, lady.
And then Rick Springfield chimes in saying, "Do not piss my friend off."
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't know, what this woman, if she was a fan, like why she's there, or was she drunk? What's the situation here? Maybe she started talking because the song was shitty and no one knows what this Angelia song is. But I got to think, in the very least, you're there, at least this much. The social dynamic is you're the person in the audience and that person on stage is on stage because they're, in this instance, a very famous, hit song recording artist, award-winning recording artist.
Yes.
That if he chastises you, I don't know, I would shrivel. And especially if I was a fan, I'd be horrified. Like, oh my God, I love you. And now I feel like any chance of us becoming best friends has been ruined.
Well, first things first, Will would not go to a concert. That's not a problem.
There's
no risk of that. And so I listened to the audio, the beginning of that clip, where you can hear her, I won't say heckle, speaking. Like she's not going blah, blah, blah. She's saying something about, and I listened a couple of times. It's almost like she's instructing him something about the microphone, like get back to the mic or get in front of the mic, or like she couldn't hear it the way she wanted to or something. Yep. At any rate, it's not her job to tell them how to perform.
Right.
I'm not a huge Marx fan. However, I like him a little bit more now because I go to concerts and I've had to tap people on the shoulder in front of me who, because the song is loud, they lean over and whisper. They lean over and go, "Do you know this song? This is my favorite song." Yeah. No, shut up. The song is playing. Talk about it later on the way home in the car when you're not here bothering me. People will do that. So Marx, learn some fucking manners. Yeah.
Do it.
She should.
And my guess would be, I'd be shocked if there were not alcohol involved, some kind of inebriation. And then also in that case, someone drunk being called out isn't going to care if they're being called out. They're not going to shrivel. They'll
care later when they see the video.
Yeah, maybe.
It does seem like increasingly you can't shame. There's the portion of our population that you can't shame is growing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and maybe to Richard Marx's point, like, who are raising these people? I don't know. Probably the internet, in defense of this person's parents.
Right.
Anyway, yeah, you're right, John. As far as going to concerts, my TV never yells at me.
But more mapped onto the story. Have you ever yelled at your TV, correcting it, telling it to fix the iris, the color's off? Like you wouldn't.
Something, yes, not that, but yes, something, absolutely.
Yeah, right. I mean, the filmmaker knew what they were doing. You're not calling up Spielberg and going, "So I'm watching Jaws, and here's the thing." Right?
You're right.
That shark looks ridiculous.
No, I'm like, John, I have been like, they didn't color correct the scene. It just cut to the same scene, the same thing. They don't match at all. And my wife's like, "What are you talking about?
What are you doing?"
Yeah. That sky is a different blue now. In addition to telling people not to piss his friend off, the Jesse's Girl singer added that he's been in similar situations when fans have been disrespectful while he performed. And then he offered an alternative way to deal with the fan. He said, quote, "I'm going to come to your work and I'm going to pee on your desk while you're working."
Is that a one-to-one mapping, really?
Yeah. What's the phrase when you bring you bring a gun to a knife fight kind of thing?
Right.
So,
it's definitely, it's out of parody. Yeah. Like there's an overreaction, overcompensation for that. But still. But what if he really did? That would be a news article. Yeah. Next week we'll talk about
be a great
Springfield pissing on somebody's desk.
Oh my God. Hey, Everybody, Rick Springfield's here in our office. Oh my God, Mr. Springfield, I'm a big fan. What are you doing?
That's what I was thinking. The excitement over Rick Springfield showing up. It wouldn't matter what he was doing.
It would matter. It would matter, Kat.
Let's see. Is he putting on a concert or is he urinating on Karen's desk?
Right.
It's really two different stories.
Mm-hmm. And he's like, don't look at me. I can't do it when people are looking. Turn around. Try to biff over here.
Only one of those makes TMZ, I'm telling you.
All right. Hey, let's see. What else we got here? Hey, also in 1980s news this week, as reported by Entertainment Weekly. You know, okay. All right. Pause. Okay. Let's play a game. Okay. This is what I really want to do. All right. And for our next 1980s news story, let's play a game. We've played this game before. I'm going to play you a song.
Okay.
10 seconds of a song. You tell me when and if you buzz out of the song, okay?
Okay.
Oh, okay.
All right. We've done this before, right? We've done it many times. All right. Here's the song. Okay, ready. Buzz out when you wouldn't. Buzz out. And for folks who don't know, we buzz out when we would have changed the radio station is the idea.
Yep.
Okay. Here we go. I'm out.
What?
You guys are hanging in there?
Of course.
Yep.
Ugh. All right, you guys are wrong.
Well.
All right, hey, this week in 1980s news, as reported by Entertainment Weekly, Fast Car hits #1 on iTunes after a Grammy performance. Mm-hmm. So lo and behold, Tracy Chapman, you remember Tracy Chapman way back from the 1980s. Well, she's back on the top of the charts where hopefully she feels like she belongs because after the singer-songwriter performed her signature hit Fast Car at the Grammys just last Sunday, the song rocketed to #1 on the iTunes store by Monday morning.
So not a Tracy Chapman fan, not a Fast Car fan. What is it about? No. Is it her in general or that song in general?
Well, okay. It's sort of a downbeat song. So I'm out already. An acoustic guitar like that. That's not,
Oh, I didn't think of that for you. That's right.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't even get to the words. I know some of the words. So what she's going to start talking about. I got a fast car. I'd use the car to get the fuck out of here. If you had a fast car, you'd drive over here and pick me up. It is a pre-Uber song, kids. Now you don't need a car. That's why I don't have songs like this anymore.
You may be marginalizing the impact of those lyrics, but okay.
Right.
I didn't get past that part.
I will tell you that I might not have listened to the whole thing if I was sight reading, whatever you call it, fresh. I never heard the song before, but having the history, that's why I didn't tune out because I know the song. And as soon as I hear that guitar, I'm like, I want to hear the rest of this song because I know how it builds and how it resolves. So maybe on the merits of the musicality, I might've been with you, but based on the legacy of the song, I'm in. So
I was all the way in because I think it's, even if it's not my favorite song, and I do feel sentimental about it because of, that time, but it's pretty to me. It's compelling. I like the guitar. I like the melody, even if it's melancholy, it's still drawing me in.
Kat's never heard the lyrics. Just putting that out there.
That's right. Remember, I don't pay attention. So
I'm making sure just
with whatever they're singing about.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the only lyric I know is, I think she says she has a fast car. That's all literally I know. But this implies to me though, both of you, again, because this exercise for me is like recreating when I first heard it. But when you first heard it, you left it on in 89 when it came out, or 88 when it came out.
I only listened to what was on the one station.
You didn't have the choice. It's not like I could hit skip, right? And we only had 3 stations. The other 2 were country and classical. So I'm staying on the station. That's a problem.
Yep, yeah. That was it.
Long enough to fall in love with the song. Again, on the musicality, I might have been with you, Mel.
Yeah.
Sure.
That's okay. Cool. Well, so it hit #1 on the iTunes charts, which isn't, the sort of the I don't know, the whatever, something or other. It's that thing that's happening again. I'm just older. Words. It's not the Mecca. It's not the, I don't know, of music records.
Pinnacle
stuff. Pinnacle. Okay.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. That's a good word. Pinnacle.
There's so many choices.
This is like
choices now.
Kind of like was it the Kate Bush phenomenon with Stranger Things? A little bit different. Like she was featured in Stranger Things in a TV show, whereas this is she came up because somebody covered her song and she opted to not sue them this time.
Well, yeah. And Entertainment Weekly speculates that maybe they hit number 1 on iTunes because it's still a medium that's used by older folks. And folks of our generation watching the Grammys were like, oh, yeah, I remember that song. That. That's what happens after I turned it off. You know what? I'm going to buy it. Kat, you were going to say?
Oh, credit or Tracy Chapman. Right. Yeah, I guess she has a history of holding her music close. Right. And, But from what I read, it sounds like the guy that she sang with.
Luke Combs.
The Grammys. What's his name?
Luke Combs.
Luke Combs. He gave her lots of credit, like he covered it, and he was including her the whole way. So maybe she was happy with that.
Well, look, our song's been covered. This song's been covered, I don't know, countless times. For some reason, this one has struck a chord with listeners because, the popularity of the old song certainly can't be, disconnected or removed from the fact that Luke Combs' version of the song is a hit. He recorded a cover of it for his 2023 album, Getting Old. And that's why we saw this performance of it on the Grammys, where Luke Combs and Tracy Chapman performed it together there on stage. But you're right. He's always honored the fact that, he owes his hit to her. And he explained that the reason he recorded this in the first place is because he remembers this as being the first song he ever considered his favorite song. As a little boy, his father would play it for him. He thought, this is my favorite song. Even before he understood what it meant to have a favorite song, it was this song. Sure. It was a song he learned to play on the guitar early, and as he started becoming interested in music. And it's a song he said he's performed countless times before he ever even recorded it. But when his version of the song won Song of the Year at the Country Music Awards last year, the award went to Chapman, making her the first ever Black artist to win it.
Did you guys watch the performance of the two of them singing it together?
Well, Will turned it off after the first few moments, but I watched it.
That's right. Well, it was really cool to watch them singing together. They were, looking at each other, enjoying, they were really enjoying singing together. It was.
Why is
really
Will laughing at Kat? What's happening here?
Because
I agree with Kat. I thought it was really sentimental and touching. He paid great respect to Chapman, and they changed the lyrics a bit. He's like, "You've got a fast car," so they're like the bouncing back and forth.
My car's faster than your stupid car. I have a fast car.
Oh,
you can't even afford to buy gas. You're a broke ass guy with a dumb looking car. They were battling.
See, once Will's decided he doesn't like something, it's over.
What I was laughing because I already said I don't like the song. So seeing two people sing it, doesn't it make it better? It's the same level of, I don't give a shit about this song. Get it off.
It was really sweet. Yeah.
Yep. Everyone's entitled to their wrong opinion.
Yes, there you go.
That's right.
It's an interesting phenomenon, though, right? Like you're talking about Kate Bush. Someone from the 80s, with Kate Bush, had this resurgence of this song that was today made her more money and has more popularity than it did in the 1980s. Yeah. This song didn't win, a Song of the Year. Certainly wasn't, probably wasn't nominated for a Country Music Award back in the 1980s.
Oh, no.
This year, it wins. It's really kind of wonderful and fascinating, that, again, talking about the staying power of 1980s pop culture.
So here's something I have said to many people, and it's happening again here. Yeah. And usually when I say it, people go, yeah, I don't know about that. And certainly will, but I'll tell you anyway, Kat. It is that,
thank you, John. As
the years go by, the pop of like 30 years ago is what country is now. So you think back to Elvis, Elvis was a controversial pop artist, right? And now he's basically, you listen back to that music and they're like country ballads. It's not so heavy. And now as country, the rockification of country over the years, it's not just steel guitars and twang anymore. There's a little more beat to it and more in it. It's more like 30 years ago rock is. And there's this sliding scale that it goes. And here's another example. Here's Fast Car is charting, winning as a country song with no change to the melody or to the lyrics or anything. It's just slightly different instrumentation and it wins.
And someone who was a country music singer singing it, it was just like it changed the person. right? Yeah.
It just fits.
But it still fits.
It fits every place but my home. The original,
or your car.
The original version of the song reached number 6 on the Billboard's Hot 100 in 1988. It won Chapman 3 Grammy Award nominations in 1989, including Song of the Year. She did win for Best Female Pop Vocalist. Combs' version climbed to number 1 on Billboard's Hot Country Songs chart in September after 19 weeks at the number 2 spot. Anyway, there you go. That's enough of that. You know, I realized we didn't check on folks' comments last time, so we should probably read some of those and we could add them in wherever. Unless they're not good.
Nick knows what's up. Will is trolling his co-host. This is comedy. Yeah, he recognizes it.
Does that suggest, Nick suggesting that I don't really like, I really do like the song? Is that what that means?
No, I think he's just saying that you revel in negging us, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't revel in it. I'm just honest.
You don't seem to not enjoy it.
I don't mean to agree for you or whatever you said earlier.
Ooh.
Agreed you. I don't mean to agree you. Owl writes, most music is a mishmash of styles now. But I thought he wrote, most music is Amish. Mash of styles now. See that?
Pure acoustic.
Is Amish.
So agrees with John. There you go. But I saw earlier that Tony agreed with me, saying that's a pass on Tracy Chapman music.
He's probably come around now that he's heard the rational arguments that Kat and I have laid out, though.
Exactly right, yes. Hey, finally in 1980s news, as reported by Courthouse News, notorious arcade gamer Billy Mitchell settles suit over Donkey Kong World Record. Hey, on November 7th, 1982, Billy Mitchell set the first widely recognized Donkey Kong World Record of 874,300 points. I'm trying to think if I've ever broken 1,000 on Donkey Kong.
If you finished one board, you broke 1,000.
Oh, is that right? Okay. I have made to the second board every now and then.
All right. You probably pulled in, 5 to 10 grand.
All right. But still, that's far fewer than Billy Mitchell got in 1982.
Yes.
Anyway, this record stood until August 17th in 2000 when it was surpassed by Tim, I'm going to say Serby, with a score of 879,200 points. And there it sat. I'm sure someone beat it probably after that. But it wasn't until 22 years later. This is kind of like the Tetris thing we talked about last week, because it wasn't until 22 years later in 2004 that Steve Wiebe became the first known human to score over 1 million points on the classic arcade game. It turns out that several raccoons had actually reached that score months earlier. But they don't count those scores. Wiebe submitted a videotape of him achieving this, record. Unfortunately, Wiebe's score was rejected by the self-appointed record keeper of video game high scores, Twin Galaxies, over a discrepancy behind the specific machine Wiebe used to achieve the feat. And this is well documented in the King of Kong documentary. But later, shortly after this, eager to prove himself in a manner that could not be contested, Wiebe appeared live and created a verified world record when he scored 85,600 points during a performance before an audience, much like our show today.
Yes.
But on that same day, Mitchell, remember him, the guy who achieved the first world record of Donkey Kong? He submitted a videotaped score of 1,047,200. Initially, this videotape courts controversy. It seems like maybe it was edited. It seems like maybe it was using an emulator. All these kinds of questions are raised. But ultimately, it's verified by Twin Galaxies, again, who's not only this organization that, maintains to this day a database of these world records, but it's an organization upon which the Guinness Book of World Records relies for video game records. They just, you guys do all the legwork, verifying and all that. We'll just, whatever you get, we trust you.
That's right.
Anyway, in the years since, Wiebe, Mitchell, and some other folks have traded high scores over time. Some were performed live, some were performed on videotape and submitted, and provided they passed muster, they're verified. Anyway, in 2018, several figures in the retro gaming community raised concern that Mitchell may have set his Donkey Kong records on a modified arcade cabinet, including ones he did live. And after a months-long investigation, Twin Galaxies, which is now under new management, found that Mitchell's two high scores of just over 1 million points were tainted. Even while Mitchell claimed to have 25 witnesses watch him, who are friends, it turns out, all of them were friends, no strangers, set the various high scores, fellow video gamer David Rice, who's a competitor of Mitchell's, posted photos on Facebook of Mitchell at the convention during which he set this record. And he noted something really unusual for what should have been a vintage Donkey Kong cabinet. Instead of having the little short joystick with a black grip on it, it had a longer joystick with a red grip on it.
Oh.
And so as a result, Mitchell was stripped of his records, banned from Twin Galaxies leaderboards, prompting Mitchell to sue the new owners of Twin Galaxies for defamation, saying that this was just the new owners, Jace Hall, had it in for Mitchell because he didn't like his hairstyle and his dopey tie.
Understandable.
Oh, right.
Kat, he looks like the villain in an 80s movie. We rewatched, the three of us rewatched Roadhouse not too long ago, and he could have been a member of, what's his name? Brad, the bad guy?
Oh, Brad Wesley?
Brad Wesley's crew.
Something. Yeah. Oh, totally.
Could have been like Brad Wesley's accountant. And he looks like that to this day. Anyway. This was just one of several lawsuits that Mitchell filed against several people that were saying he's a fraud, including YouTuber Carl Jobst, who that's how I'm going to say it. I've watched his videos. I mean, he brings the receipts, this guy.
Yeah.
Anyway, so he sues Twin Galaxy for taking away his records and defaming him. They countersue him, saying that he was actually conspiring with the prior Twin Galaxies owner, Walter Day, who's also featured in that documentary, for this fraud, just to bring notoriety to themselves, because they were friends, and to the organization Twin Galaxies. Well, they dragged on for years, but we finally have a conclusion to this case, and I got to tell you, I am really bummed at the conclusion of it, because just last month, 3 months before they were going to go to trial, a settlement was announced in LA County Superior Court. I want to see this guy lose.
I was going to say, why are you disappointed?
I was trying to divine your personal opinion. I think I picked up on it now.
Yes.
Yeah.
You think?
Look,
yes.
Now, admittedly, my much like Mitchell's cabinet, my perception of him is tainted by the King of Kong documentary, which, I watched when it came out several years ago.
Yeah.
They cleverly make him out to be a bad guy, a villain versus this sort of all-American, baseball, apple pie eating Steve Wiebe. And it's great. It is great how dramatic it plays out over time. But since, and there were criticisms of the documentary at the time saying, you're really making this guy look like a bad guy. And he's not really a bad guy. He's just, trying to make his bones as a professional video game player or whatever. And used car salesman, maybe, John? Or mortgage broker? He's something else. Mortgage broker? I don't know.
He also makes his own hot sauce. Yeah, he lives down here in Florida.
Sauce?
To the surprise of no one. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay. But in the years since, he's only seemed to have proven that he is.
So, okay. We can't do this whole story without, look, I've met Billy Mitchell. I've spoken with Billy Mitchell. Gen X Grown Up has interviewed Billy Mitchell. He is a very different guy inside of like the 6-foot bubble of, your personal space. At a distance, he's just what you see in a King of Kong. But up close, he lets that guard down a bit, and you get to...
He gives great hugs.
No. First is Tracy Chapman. Now it's Billy Mitchell.
Sorry.
Oh,
I think he is a bullshit artist, without a doubt. I think he believes his own press, without a doubt. However, this entire controversy, and I watch all the things on as much as I can. There's not all probably, but it's this battle over the spirit of the law versus the letter of the law. I think, yes, what he did was technically not to the letter of the law, a absolute unmodified cabinet, which are becoming harder and harder to come across that are still working. So imagine if you're a race car driver and they said, oh, well, your steering wheel was the wrong color, therefore you lost the race. And it's like, I'm not saying it's equivalent to that. I'm saying there are differences. Emulation is notoriously accurate. So if I set a record on emulation, I understand that it would not be accepted. In fact, now there's a subcategory for emulation versus original hardware. So they do acknowledge that now. However, the same skills are required to do that thing. It's not like you had, you wrote a new ROM or something, or you modified the game. But I understand you need a level playing field. However, whenever I hear them talk about it's nitpicking, like the height of the joystick, the ball top is black instead of red, which does absolutely say it was modified from the original. Yes. Does that actually affect your ability to perform on it in a way that would make you get a higher score? That's the question. This is where I say it's kind of the letter of the law versus the spirit of the law. So
yeah, good point.
I think he's been very vilified, and it's because of his personality that he never is able to clear his own name because he just spouts some more crazy stuff. But he's definitely not as bad a guy as he's made out to be, in my opinion, because I met him personally.
Kat, we know what this means, right? We know what this
means. What does this mean?
It means John is under the influence of Billy Mitchell. He met him in person somehow. He charmed him. I don't know how he charmed him.
He's one of the 25 witnesses of.
Yeah, I saw him do it. I did.
No, I mean, look, wait a second. Okay, whatever. Let's just move on, I guess.
What was that? Will has no retort. Let's move on.
No, what I do have retorts, but all right, look, a couple things. One, first of all, the NASCAR analogy, NASCAR does have rules, and it's not related to color, it's related to something that may change your performance. And the idea that they have everything equal is to say that, look, if everybody has exactly this, then we know we don't have to even consider whether or not these things make you better or worse at anything. And instead of doing that, he still played twice, not only once, but twice on cabinets that were modified. Now, we don't know to what extent they were modified except for the joystick. That's one thing. But the second thing is the joystick. I don't know science, but I know that you get different leverage with a longer thing than you get with a shorter thing. So already that suggests to me that there's probably a physical difference between using that little stubby thing versus using a different controller. But whatever. John, you can have him.
I'm not defending him or saying he's innocent. I'm saying he's been vilified as someone that is, thumbing his nose at authority where actually he may have bent a rule. He is not a cheater as he has been laid out to be, in my opinion, from what I've seen. So I might be wrong, but from everything I have seen, it's been really blown out of proportion.
Was he deceitful though? Did he lie about some of this?
Yeah,
stuff?
Maybe. I think.
Okay.
I think he thinks he was justified in the lie. I think he believes I know that what I did was not cheating. Therefore, but if I say anything other than yes, I cheated, then they'll call me a cheater. So if he knows I didn't take performance enhancing drugs. It's just my sneakers were clean that day. That's why I won the race, kind of thing. But if I say I cleaned my sneakers, they'll say I was a cheater. So I think he has absolutely stretched the truth in a way to ensure that he is not further vilified. I don't think he is the egregious cheater that he's made out to be.
All right. Well, there you go. Well, no one appeared more pleased with the end of the case, however, than the judge, who told the parties during the short hearing, quote, "Oh, my word, can you tell how happy I am?" End quote. That's exactly how I feel about this segment. It's over. Miss So says definitely an 80s villain, but also asks, who hurt you, Will?
Oh.
Nick says the size of the joystick doesn't. It's the motion of the controller. The size doesn't matter, Nick. Yes, right.
Tawanawanga.
Oh, there you go. All right, so there you go. All right, that's that. All right, so hey, and you'll see why we talked about that. That's a current story that just happened. And whatever. Let's talk about this other one where we could maybe be a little more definitive in our accusations, and John won't support it. We'll see. John may be in the tank for this next guy too. We don't know, but let's find out. Stick around when we find out. Stick around if we find out if Todd Rogers also gives great hugs. Hey, I know it doesn't sound like it because our show sounds so damn good, but we don't have a big corporate sponsor or a giant podcast network behind us. No. In fact, this show is brought to you week after week with the generosity of folks just like you, listeners who give us $1 or $2 or more every month to help us pay all the different bills associated with creating a wonderful show about the 1980s. To find out how you can support our show with $1 or $2 or the many free ways to help our show, visit 1980snow.com/support. Whatever you do, thank you so much. Our show is brought to you courtesy of Sweets and Geeks. I'm so excited to have them as a sponsor because I shop there, and you can too. At sweetsandgeeks.com. We're going to give away a gift card in just a few minutes here. After I tell you about this true crime story, it's going to happen right now. I'm going to tell you about the true story, the true crime perpetrated by Billy Mitchell's literal friend.
Yep.
Certainly was back in the day. I don't know if they're still buddies or not. but another gentleman named by the name of Todd Rogers. And in order to do this, I'm going to assume a silly voice, and we'll see how well I can do it at this hour in front of a live audience.
Excellent.
With very little with no water left.
Uh-oh.
And with some music playing in the background. So let's start the music and then we'll talk.
What could go wrong?
And like always, you guys stop me if you have any questions, comments, suggestions to how to improve it. And the same for the folks in the live audience as well. And quite honestly, I don't remember how to do the voice because I feel like we did something recently where I did a different voice. And it kind of screwed me up.
Did you?
Yeah, you did.
Halloween. That's what it was.
Oh my gosh.
Oh,
yes.
you did. Yeah.
Your Halloween character.
On November 12th, 19. Okay, there we go. I think that's it.
Oh, perfect.
Nope, we found it.
All right, here we go.
We're back.
All right. Mm-hmm. On November 30th, 2012, for the first time in history. Again, and this isn't funny. I always say that, right? This isn't funny. It's not meant to be funny.
All right. I mean, 2012 was funny, but the rest is not.
On November 30th, 2012. Is that right? 2012? That sounds weird.
Yeah.
I guess I'm used to being in the 20s for a few years now.
It's not 2012, I assure you that. I might not be right, but I'm righter than you.
Is this one of those sci-fi movies you were talking about earlier?
Yes.
It's set in the year 2012. On November 30th, 2012, for the first time in its history, the Guinness Book of Records created a new accolade. The world-renowned organization recognized veteran gamer Todd Rogers for now everybody gets to see the face I make now, I realize. Unless we put the screen on cat the whole time.
It's just the regular face.
The world-renowned organization recognized veteran gamer Todd Rogers for holding the longest-standing video game high score. According to the newly created record, 3 decades earlier, Rogers had achieved an unbeaten score, a time of 5.51 seconds, on the Atari 2600 game Dragster. There was just one problem. That time was impossible.
Oh. Okay.
Or was it?
Oh. I've never played. I don't know.
If Billy Mitchell did it, John would be like, it's possible. Sandalwood, I'm telling you. Love you, John. I love you. You know that. Born on December 1st, 1964, or as some would say 1964, in Oaklawn, Illinois. Todd Rogers led a typical suburban childhood, his time divided between playing sports and collecting comic books. Then, in 1972, Rogers got his first taste for the medium that would change his life. At a mere 8 years of age, an Odyssey system was made a staple in his living room. I had one of those. Do other guys have an Odyssey? No, right?
Played Odyssey 2 at a good friend's house. We didn't have the first Odyssey.
I think
didn't have either. Maybe it is. Yeah.
That was the one with the plastic screens you put on the thing.
And Odyssey 2 had cartridges like the Atari did. Yeah. I think Odyssey 1 didn't have cartridges. Odyssey 2 may have. Again, I didn't own either. That's my recollection.
All right, so he's playing with an Odyssey. Rogers and his older brother spent hours testing one another at Pong and other rudimentary video games. Then, 5 years later, another world-changing milestone for the young video gamer. In 1977, a new console would usurp the Odyssey's role in the Rogers household, the Atari 2600. But the game that would forever change Rogers' life was yet to be created by a company that didn't exist.
Okay. Ever?
Yeah.
It never existed.
I can't tell if this is my favorite or least favorite true crime yet because I know the story so well. And I'm almost like, yeah, and that's next, and that's next. So it's less of a surprise, but I'm more invested. So it's 50-50.
And much like every single of these, I know nothing. And You have my full attention.
There you go.
Yep.
I gotta see if there's any Duran Duran related crimes from the 1980s. In 1980, Activision, a company created by disgruntled former employees of Atari, released its first game for the popular console, Dragster, an unlicensed port of the Key Games arcade coin-op Drag Race. It was programmed by Activision co-founder David Crane. In the game, the player races against the clock or another player to complete a quarter-mile track in the fastest time. As with Activision's other titles, a club was formed to recognize the most talented gamers. Those who reached the finish line in less than 6 seconds were invited to join Activision's official world-class Dragster Club, aka the Global Virgin Society.
Wait, what?
Oh, my back. There's a knife right in my back.
The world-class Dragster Club was also known as the Global Virgin Society. John, were you a member of the world-class Dragster Club? You've got patches, don't you? John's got patches. I know he's got patches.
I don't want to talk about it.
What patches do you have, John?
I don't want to talk about it.
Why was it called the Global Virgin Society?
Will is just making that up to make fun of those of us who enjoyed video games at an early age.
Oh my gosh.
Therefore implying that we would never amount to anything, including being worthy of the love of another.
Now,
okay. Thank you.
Now, John, I mean, Kat, it's not true though entirely. I'm really only joking because some of those folks went on to have very successful YouTube channels. About retro games.
Oh my gosh.
On December 1st, 1980. Am I just discouraging John from talking at all for the rest of the
I think he was biting his arm a few seconds ago. Yes.
On December 1st. All right, that's it. We're even, John, okay? We're even. For the thing that we won't talk about, we're even.
Okay.
Any jokes going forward, it's new stuff. It's new material.
New stuff. All right. Okay, I can do that.
On December 1st, 1980, at age 16, Rogers' proclivity for video games paid off. He became a certified member of the world-class Dragster Club with a time of 5.4 seconds. It was an honor that was memorialized by Activision on official membership certificate number 157.
Oh.
In the years that followed, Rogers continued to earn membership to Activision's various honorary game clubs. Then, in 1982, Activision invited Rogers to demonstrate their games at consumer... at CES? At the Consumer Electronics Show. A role that would continue for the next few years. It was during this time that Rogers achieved another breakthrough. He had bested his previous Dragster high score, completing the game in a record-setting 5.51 seconds. Once again, the world-class Dragster Club recognized his achievement, this time with a notice in the spring 1983 edition of Activision's official newsletter.
Very exciting.
No, I know it seems like I'm just promoting these publications that no longer exist, but it is important how this was documented.
Certainly. So Activision understood you bring the top talent with you to the Consumer Electronics Show. You have them show off your products.
Yep.
It makes good sense. I understand it. Well, what happened next, Will?
In spite of his early success, Guinness did not recognize Rogers until 2012. It was at that time that a new honor was created among the annals of the world record keepers. On November 30th of that year, Guinness acknowledged that Rogers had achieved a milestone unique even for the multiple record holder. He had held an unbeaten high score for longer than any other gamer. But, just 6 years later, Rogers' record would be wiped from the record books. And not because someone had fared better than Rogers' time.
Uh-oh. Huh.
He was murdered.
What?
He lost his V card and was no longer allowed to play games.
He lost his chi. He was getting laid left and right.
Oh.
And found out without his spirit, or some would say chism or jazz. He wasn't able to compete at the level he needed to.
His dragster score was up to 73 seconds.
Yes.
He was dragging.
He's dragging ass.
Dragster. He was dragging.
In 2017, just 5 years after, he achieved a Guinness World Record. Rogers' score began to be challenged. While the score had been suspected as impossible for years, an official dispute was opened with Twin Galaxies, the organization that I mentioned earlier, that Will mentioned earlier. I don't know who I am. The organization that has documented video game high scores for nearly 40 years. Included among the growing evidence of foul play was the work of computer scientist Eric Omnigamer Koziel. After analyzing the dragsters... What's that?
That's his middle name, Omnigamer?
John's is calculator or something. Is it Calculon? What is it?
Not at birth.
Oh. After analyzing the dragster's computer code, Omnigamer determined that the best possible time that could be achieved on the game is 5.57 seconds. To be sure, Twin Galaxies asked noted hacker and modder Ben Heck to work with Rogers to see if 5.51 could be reached. But even with Rogers' guidance, Heck was unable to replicate Rogers' alleged high score. I mean, they had these guys just hack it and like, all right, just create an algorithm or a computer code that just plays the game as best as anybody can play it. And they could not get, the computer could not get this score. So whereas earlier, I had joked that raccoons had achieved 1 million at Donkey Kong, they're able to program a computer to be really good at Pac-Man, Donkey Kong, etc. This game maxed out at the highest score, the best score could be achieved was not what Todd Rogers had claimed he had done in 1982.
And before we go on, I think it's worth noting that I think Kat said she's not aware of the game. It might be worth just a quick overview of what the game is. It's very simple.
Yeah.
Okay.
While it is a drag racing game, you have these two cars, one on top of the other, so the two-player that Will mentioned. And on your turn, the single red button on that beautiful joystick is your gas button. And then the up and down is the gear shift. And so the thing is, it's about timing. It's driving a manual transmission. You're going to go, and then you tap the joystick up, and you let off the gas and tap the joystick and accelerate. And it's about how accurately you can shift and how quickly you can get up to speed. And you can also blow your engine if you over rev at a lower speed. It's just ending your run entirely. So you just take another run, take another, take another run. So the record is 5.5 seconds, under 6 seconds. You literally play the entire game in that long. The game is over and you just go again. You go again. You go again, trying to get the best score by not blowing your engine and getting to the finish line as quickly as you can. So
this sounds like my kind of game.
Yeah.
What about it? What about it that appeals to you?
Because I like driving standard shift
Oh
vehicles.
yeah.
I love driving, and I also love a standard shift. So yeah, I would have been all about this. I wish I'd had it. Yeah.
I mean, certainly you could still play it on an emulator or a 2600 today.
Yeah,
I could.
Yep.
And unlike the Donkey Kong cabinets that John referred to earlier, they're plentiful. These 2600s, people are constantly selling them on eBay, Facebook, etc.
Mm-hmm.
If Dragster couldn't be completed in 5.51 seconds,
How did Rogers' score come to be acknowledged by the prestigious Guinness Book of World Records? According to Guinness, they relied on the records of twin galaxies. In turn, the original owner of Twin Galaxies, Walter Day, indicated that Twin Galaxies had relied on Activision's certification. This was unusual, because Twin Galaxies usually required a high score to be achieved live, or for videotaped evidence to be submitted.
Okay. Was it not?
No. Yeah. So Activision says we got a record here. We verified it. Guinness Book says, okay, that's good enough. Or Twin Galaxy says that's good enough for us. Twin Galaxy puts it in their system. Guinness says, oh, what do you got for world records? Oh, that. Okay. So now this guy's good to go.
Wow. Huh. Too many filters.
To your question, Kat.
Activision had relied on a Polaroid provided by a young Rogers in 1983. But Activision didn't require gamers to write their scores on the photographs submitted for admission to the world-class Dragster Club. So, many believe it's likely the photo was actually that of a 5.57 score that only appeared to be 5.51 due to screen glare or other issues that made the image difficult to read.
Wow.
And if someone says you got a higher score than you did, maybe you don't correct them.
Maybe you just let it go.
Like,
okay.
Oh, that's close. Look, that's only 600ths of a second difference.
Yeah.
Let it go.
Right.
Yeah.
It's curious that at the time, Activision didn't know the limits of the game itself, that they could say, wait a second.
Right.
Even if a 5.51 had been achieved, however, Twin Galaxies' reliance on Activision to determine the Dragster record holder is flawed, because in the spring of 1983, the issue of Activision's newsletter, the one that acknowledged Rogers' high score.
I skipped something here. Oh, start again.
Because in the spring 1983 issue of Activision's newsletter, the one that acknowledged Rogers' high score, two other gamers were noted to have achieved the same time of 5.51.
Oh.
In fact, according to an earlier edition of the publication, these two gamers had scored 5.51 a year earlier than Rogers. Further, the next best score, according to Twin Galaxies, was 5.64, which completely ignored the achievement of the other gamers.
Wow.
So it's one thing to say they relied on this picture provided by Todd Rogers, which is already a little, I'm talking about Twin Galaxy. So Twin Galaxy says they relied on Activision. They have a picture from it. But Twin Galaxy had to ignore everybody else's record, including the ones that came earlier.
Right.
So he wouldn't be a world record holder already, even if you just take all these photos at face value.
The 5.6 scores were worse scores, but the two that claimed to be 5.51s earlier, I hadn't even heard that part of the story. That's new to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Two other people had claimed the same impossible score.
And maybe for the same reasons,
Maybe, but it almost lends credence, right? If three people got something impossible, you're like, well.
Yeah.
And what was the publication this was in?
It was in Activision's own newsletter.
It's a fan club newslettery thing that you could sign up for, and they would send you. Because they, as Will said, they had this wonderful ecosystem that had never been done before where you could get a high score and take a photo and send it in. If you reach certain criteria, they would mail you back a patch to put on your jacket, or sometimes additional patches, like Star Master had a main badge and then deltas for ranks above it, captain and commander and whatever. It was really, really well done. And it pulled you in. At a time there's no internet, it made you part of a community that was awesome.
John, I thought you didn't want to talk about that.
I don't. I'm not going to talk about it.
He spun it. But I coveted the Laser Blast patch, and I crushed at that game. It's a pretty simple game once you get the sort of rhythm of it.
Yes.
So I was able to, I think you had to flip it, or you had to get 99,999, something like that. But whatever it was, I got it. but I didn't have a Polaroid camera. So I had no way of, and we didn't have any camera ready for me to, and my parents were not going to let me leave this on the screen until I got a camera to film it and stuff like that. On the TV. So I missed it, but so I did want to at least be part of that club.
So to answer your question, I evaded earlier. I did not ever own patches. I achieved them and I took the photos.
Yeah.
And yet my lazy ass self just never got around to mailing anything in. So I still have one photo for Star Master where I took the picture, but I never sent it in. So it's in a photo album. Like I could have gotten a patch off of this. I didn't because look, you develop film. You take the picture and then you forget about it because you're like, when are you going to get that roll developed? What's on it? Pictures of Jonathan's video game scores? Well, we'll do that later after the vacation, right? You don't just rush it to 1 hour developing because I wanted a patch. So I'd forgotten.
Just one picture was snapped on the film. You ignore the other, 28, 29.
Yeah. So you develop it when it's full. And I'm like, I was not full, so.
Oh man!
Yeah, that's
all the patch potential.
I think we should see if we can get you that patch, John. Activision's still around. I wonder if there's a way to do that.
Yeah, those patches are highly coveted. Yeah, they're not reprinting them.
Oh,
have you guys ever interviewed David Crane? Maybe I don't know.
No,
the guy you need to talk to. No. Marcus says he didn't get his Mega Mania patch because of the same thing with the camera.
Yeah. Which one? He didn't have a camera, or because he didn't get developed in time and he got sidetracked? I'd believe both.
Both. Let's say both.
It is not known who entered Rogers' score into the Twin Galaxies database in 2001. It is known, however, that Rogers himself was employed by Twin Galaxies from 1999 until 2012.
What? Really?
Yep.
Oh.
You can see Rogers in the King of Kong documentary. He's there. He's in amidst all these players. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
And in 2013, Rogers admitted that he did enter his own scores on occasion.
On occasion.
Under scrutiny, Rogers' other unusual high scores on Twin Galaxies were questioned. The alleged video documenting Rogers' score of 15 million points on NES's port of Donkey Kong were discovered to be missing or non-existent.
Ooh.
Rogers' time of 32.04 seconds in barnstorming was discovered to be impossible to achieve, even with all the obstacles removed from the game.
As the crow flies, you couldn't do that, buddy.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Rogers had a high score in Wabbit of 1,698 points, even though the game ends when a player reaches 1,300 points, and the score only increases in increments of 5.
It's like that dumb criminals thing. You couldn't even fake it good?
So I'm wondering if the name of the game is Wabbit. I know it is.
Yes.
Or if that's just an extension of the miffed lisp that you had from earlier.
Yes, it is.
Oh, he miffed a Wabbit.
He did.
Miffed.
He miffed a high score on Wabbit. It was confirmed that Rogers' score in Fathom would have taken 325 hours to achieve.
And there's no pause. There's no pause.
There's no pause. Right, there's no pause. Yeah, not back then.
Finally,
Well, if you had a diaper.
Rogers alleged...
What's that?
If you had a diaper.
Right.
You'd need all sorts of contraptions.
Or
You have to be hooked up to an
set-
IV or
Yeah,
something.
somebody put Doritos in my mouth and changed my diaper. I'm fathoming.
You could set it up in the bathroom. You could have your,
Oh,
And eat in there,
yeah,
cat. You're going to eat Doritos in the bathroom?
I wouldn't do it.
And she has you sitting on the
myself.
toilet in this scenario. You know that.
Well, that's why you're in the bathroom. What? I'm not
Yes.
I'm sitting on the sink? Of course I'm sitting on the
And
toilet.
eating Doritos at the same time.
Oh, or even worse. Maybe I'm just in a full tub.
Oh.
I told you it's worse.
Oh,
That means when you're done, you're going to have to stomp some things down the drain.
Just squish them. Squish them down. I'm working on my high score, Mom. I swear it's a baby Ruth floating in there.
Other people in this house need to use the bathroom and play Wabbit.
More Doritos. Just. Oh.
Finally, Rogers' alleged score of 65 million points on Atari's 5200's Centipede far exceeded the second-placed record holder of 58,078 points.
Oh, yes.
Again, he couldn't have just done 59,000 was his high score?
No.
He went to
Wait, what was
65
his?
million.
65
million.
On January 29th, 2018, faced with a growing number of complaints that Rogers had falsified his time and the increasing pile of evidence suggesting his 5
Oh, I'm glad you said evidence.
Did they also say pickles?
Yes.
Baby Ruth.
Oh,
Doritos.
Oh, he's in the tub still?
I'm still in the tub right now in this scenario. On an increasing pile of excrement.
That's where I was too.
increasing pile of evidence suggesting his 5.51 second run on Dragster was impossible. Twin Galaxies threw out all of Rogers' records and banned him for life from its scoreboards.
Yep.
Wow.
And following that disqualification from Twin Galaxies' scoreboard, the Guinness Book of World Records removed Rogers' record for the longest standing video game high score.
Out of there.
While Rogers' dubious notoriety far outlasted his fraudulent dragster time. It seems it was Rogers that helped speed his fame to an end.
Oh.
It was only shortly after Rogers was acknowledged by Guinness that his dragster and other scores began to be scrutinized. But the reason Guinness had created a new record for Rogers more than 3 decades after his alleged achievement is because Rogers himself had lobbied the organization for 4 years to do so.
Oh my gosh.
Double down.
What?
All right, there you go. How was that?
What? He couldn't just have left it alone.
Yeah.
So, John, is this where you tell us Todd Rogers smells great and he's a good dude and all that?
Ooh.
No, not necessarily. I've met Todd, certainly. And
Okay. Here we
Okay.
Buckle up, everybody.
so first, have you heard of bit flipping? Are you familiar? Did that come up in your research at all? Bit flipping?
Huh.
Part of the analysis of the Dragster high score is that
Yeah.
it's impossible if you follow the rules of the game. And I don't mean me as a human follow the rules of the game. I mean, if the computer follows its programming.
Oh.
And so there is this theoretical thing that can happen called bit flipping, where a 0 is flipped to a 1 somewhere inside of code that's running, but it's done by external source, you know, an errant electron, a solar flare that's timed perfectly or whatever. And it just causes a bug. You've been on a computer and it worked 100 times and this time it froze, right?
Sure.
Oh,
I'm not saying that's bit
yeah.
flipping, but errors can happen, even in rudimentary games that are only 4K in size. It's tiny, tiny games. And so there was some debate. Is it possible? Was there just an error that took place that allowed him to achieve this? Because yes, the game programming doesn't allow it, but could it have been, you know, Saturn was in alignment with something and there was this weird, unlikely given the other records. But there was research into bit flipping to say, is it possible? If enough of it happened, if it had been so absolutely unlikely, probably not. But yeah.
Yeah. I do remember. I do recall that, and I thought you're right. I think they dismissed that as
Right.
not,
I mean,
certainly as at least as improbable.
Right, exactly. It
Yeah.
is so unlikely as to be effectively impossible. You would have to do several would have to happen at the right time, at the right place to achieve that without also just blowing the game up, right? You can't, if certain things are invalid, the game will just crash. You get the
Right.
squiggly lines and you're dead. So
Yeah, and And I think also going against that, if I recall, because it's on video when he works with who is it? Heck, I think his name is something like
Ben
that.
Heck.
Yeah, Ben Heck. It's all on video because he's teaching Heck like, all right, Heck wants to observe him. What do you do so I can make a computer do it basically? And then when Heck can't get the computer to do it, he's like, all right, well, Todd, there's got to be something secret, extra, something you're doing that I'm missing here. Mm-hmm. And the way Todd describes him doing it is if, and he's saying he could do it all the time. So the fact that it's this like lightning, sort of in a bottle kind of scenario, not from Rogers' perspective, he talks about like I could do it no problem. I have a technique, I could do it all the time. And then on video with Heck, he's like, it's that thing. I'm sorry, honey. This has never happened to me before. Right.
If without the cameras weren't rolling, I do it all the time. There is no evidence of him doing it live, recorded ever.
Yeah.
I don't know him well. I've met him. Yeah. I actually met him at SFGE, the convention in Atlanta. And
okay. Oh. Yeah. So what year would that have been? Because now that
would have been 2018.
That was right before this blew up, I think.
Yes. That was right when Billy Mitchell was on his vindication tour or whatever he was calling it, when he was sure he was going to beat all these litigious these cases against him. And and we had interviewed Billy Mitchell, and it did great for us. And so here's Todd Rogers, another controversial figure in video game history, right? And so we're like, hey, would we interview you? He's like, yeah, not right now or anything. I got to leave because I'm going to be interviewed on ESPN, the Ocho, or some network or whatever. And we're like, he's like, we'll get together and do it. We're like, hey, if we give you one of our Gen X Grown Up t-shirts, you can wear it on ESPN when you do the thing. He's like, all right. So we gave him one of our shirts, and he never called us again, never answered our emails. So he got a free shirt. Todd Rogers owes me a shirt. Or $15 for a shirt.
I don't think you're getting that, John.
No, I don't want it back.
When you talked to Billy Mitchell, John, did you ask him about the controversy with regard to his Donkey Kong scores?
That's all we talked about. Yeah, that's all we talked about. Yeah, and he's a politician. He has a way of answering a question without saying yes or no. Now we did ask him, and our thumbnail even says, "Did I cheat?" No, like we outright asked him, Billy, did you cheat on your Donkey Kong score? And he's unequivocally, no, I did not. Okay. And then we went on with further questions and then he kind of talks circuitously. And so he's a bullshit artist, as I said, definitely. And he travels in those bullshit artist circles with also questionable video game record holders.
Including at least one time Todd Rogers. Yeah.
Yeah, indeed. Yep.
All right. Hey, that was that story. Now, look, I don't want to, folks don't log off because we're going to give away a prize now thanks to our sponsor. Speaking about games, not video games, but board games. Yeah. We're talking about a reputable source, one that's, what's the word? Like you can't, not indisputable. It's, I hate that. I hate when this happens, man. It feels like a physical barrier, like someone saying, here, curl this 100-pound weight. It's like that to me. Huh.
Indisputable?
All right, whatever. Yeah, it's not that. It's like when someone has a record, like it's a reputation that's just unassailable. Unassailable reputation. There you go.
You won. You got it.
I'm talking about the store Sweets and Geeks. And again, so if you don't know who they are, you should find out because they're a pop culture haven for retro and modern memorabilia and this is a really cool thing, candy. Now, I didn't realize until I went to this location. Now, if you're within the area of Northeast Ohio and you could actually get there, go to sweetsandgeeks.com to find out where they are. You'll learn like I did that this kind of stuff goes together. I didn't realize how much nostalgia I had for candy. I get the other stuff. Sure, that makes sense to me,
Oh, well, virgins love candy. Oh, back.
But you have tons of candy there, international candy, also candy from different eras, candy that I recognize from, that I loved as a kid. And I get all my candy, my games, I get them all there. I got my Goonies game there. There's a lot of 1980 stuff too. Goonies game there. The Indiana Jones game I played with Kat during her visit during New Year's. Yeah, we got there. I've gotten Funko Pops there, comic books. I've gotten dice for D&D. I've gotten figures for D&D and tons of candy to eat while I played D&D. I think once I bought Choco Balls. What? Speaking of true crime.
Were they tainted or they're just standard Choco Balls?
No. Yeah, they didn't have, I looked to see if they had a warning on them.
That's good. Yeah.
No, we didn't get to see them. We need to see these Choco Balls.
Yeah. Anyway, if you're in the area, Northeast Ohio, you can reach them there in historic Medina. in the historic Medina Square here in Medina, Ohio. But the great news for those outside the area is they have an online store where you could buy these items that I'm talking about as well. And today we're going to be giving away a $25 gift card that you can use toward your purchase. Again, either in store or online to get your next bit of memorabilia or game or candy or whatever. Okay, so here's how we're going to do it. We're going to do, if you just put in the comments right now, hashtag sweets. No, scratch that. Hashtag geeks, let's say. Hashtag geeks, right? Let's emphasis on the geeks considering our conversation today, in particular with regard to,
I resemble that
I'm glad
remark.
you didn't tell them to put hashtag virgins.
Oh my God. Kat, we have a sponsor. What are you trying to do to me?
Nip that in the bud.
All right, it's going. Miss
So!
All right.
Congratulations!
Cool. All right, Miss So, we'll get your information so we can figure out how to get this gift card over to you. And that, look, if you want to, if you're listening to the show, if this made it into the show, join us next time for your chance to win a cool prize from one of our upcoming sponsors.
If it didn't make it into the show, join us anyway.
And I promise you, less angry episode. I'll be over it by then.
Don't make any promises.
Okay. All right. Hey, that was our show.
And our show is brought to you thanks in part to our early adopters like Karen Flieger and Rick Parker.
Yay, Rick!
And thank you especially to our Secret of Our Success level Patreon supporters, Nick Guillory, Craig Coletta, Matt Marino, John Henderson, Brandon Greer, Marcus Taylor, and Tony Gray.
Outstanding.
Hey, thank you. Thank you so much to all of our wonderful patrons that support us every week. Help us pay the bills that are necessary. We're not just spending, we're not going to strip clubs and making it rain.
Maybe you're not.
Kat, we have a sponsor. What are you doing?
It's not illegal. She can do that.
Oh, it's taking us down into the bathtub. She's doing. Things are already piling up in there, and now we're getting.
Get your head out from under the water.
Yeah,
Todd, that's filthy.
Come up for a Pringle or whatever it was.
Doritos.
But yeah, without these folks, we wouldn't be able to pay those necessary bills to keep the show published every week. And that's that. Hey, join us next week. We'll be talking about one-hit wonders, right? And Kat will be challenging us.
Yes.
She'll be embarrassing us. Maybe John, we can use the comments maybe as help. I don't know. Maybe there's a way.
Oh no.
Cheat a little? Sure.
Oh no.
You're gonna.
Maybe we could bring on a special guest who knows about music and we'll be like a surprise guest.
Nope.
Okay.
There you go.
Hey,
No special
Ask
tell
and
us
answer.
that legendary producer, Nile Rogers. Hey, Nile. All right. Tell us if these are one-hit wonders.
Okay. He can come on.
All right. We'll have to see what happens then. When we talk to you next time on 1980s Now.
Until next time.
I'm going to miss you.